September 4th, 2016, about 1 a.m., I messaged my friend Will and said, "Hey, can you talk me out of something?" And he asked what was up, and so I sent him the following presentation. He refused to talk me out of it, so you have him to thank for this. I don't exactly know where this idea came from. Pexachu just appeared in my head one day, like a miracle, and I knew that I would not be able to rest until he was made manifest. I am aware that there are cosplayers who do this kind of thing, like just dress up in Speedo and a Pokemon mask and that's their entire costume, and I admire the heck out of that, but I didn't actually know that was a thing until a while after I made these abominations. So this was Pexachu Mark One. I used a knockoff SH Figuarts Pikachu head and some kind of WWE wrestling figure. I don't know who it is. I had to cut off his head. The articulation is not great, and he's got these unattractive red pants. It doesn't quite fit with the image I had in my head. I don't remember why I gave him the gun, actually. I did animate this one once for a class project years ago. It never took off, though. Can't imagine why. Now, as for why I wanted him to fight Godzilla, I mean, what else was he gonna do, you know? The city he was fighting in is just a Lego micro city, just Lego parts, just stacked plates, alternating colors, very simple design, but there's a lot of them. The benefit of using Lego is that, while it doesn't look that realistic, I mean, they break apart, so if something explodes, it's easier to destroy a building without having to worry about ruining hours of hard work. Pexachu Mark II was made using a Figma archetype body figure. There's a lot of bootlegs of these, but if you do want to get one, I recommend you get the real thing, because it's much less likely to fall apart on you. His head is just from one of those cheap Chinese Pikachu figurines. I bought like 20 of them for $5, beheaded one of them. It was painful, but I think it was worth it. His pelvis is a hollow piece around a Y-shaped ball joint, which meant I could remove it and paint it separately. This is actually the second version of Pexachu Mark II, so I guess you could call him Mark 2.5. So Mark 2.0, I suppose you would call it, used a bootleg version of the same figure. You'll notice that the skin tone is slightly paler. You can actually see the switch happen in the video. The reason I had to get a new one is that one of his wrists snapped. It happened during the scene where he grabbed Godzilla by the tail and spun him around in a circle. That was the hardest part of the entire film for me. I actually had to take a break for several months just to figure out how I was going to pull that off. Originally, I wanted it to just be one long continuous shot spinning him around and around, but I guess that shot kind of defeated me because I had to make some compromises, otherwise it wouldn't work. I broke it up into a series of shorter shots, and I'm very proud of it. I mean, you can still tell what's going on, it still looks good, it's still funny. In order to get him suspended, I used the Mark 2.0 figure, and I glued most of the joints in place, so he's mostly immobile. So his tail was balanced here, and the rest of him was balanced on one of the many buildings surrounding the spinning scene. One unforeseen benefit of having to switch to the official version of this figure is that I realized I already had a painted Speedo piece, so I wouldn't have to paint the other one. And that meant that at some point in the film, if I so desired, I could swap it out and show some cheek. I wasn't originally planning on doing that, but once the opportunity arose, I knew it was inevitable. I did get some questions about my lighting. For the most part, it was just a naked bulb in the ceiling and a bendy lamp. Really not much more to it. But then for the atomic breath and explosions and things like that, I have these LED flashlights. Right? They usually look kind of blue, so I would use that for atomic breath. If I wanted to get other colors, I just cut out a piece of a Ziploc baggie and colored it with Sharpie, used a rubber band to stick it to the top, and that way I can get like an orange-yellow explosion effect. Same goes for Shin Godzilla's purple atomic breath. Speaking of Shin Godzilla, a lot of people were speculating that he might be my least favorite based on my treatment of him in the film, but this is my favorite Godzilla movie of all time. I will die on that hill. Also, this figure, the SH Monstars Shin Godzilla, is not worth it. Like, I'm glad I got it when I did, but that happened more times than I can count. Not fun to animate at all. Oh my gosh, it's not even going back in properly. A lot of people were asking about how I got him up in the air. A lot of action figures come with various stands, either to help them stand or just to get them into aerial poses. He has a port on his back which just connects to this stand here, so it can be suspended midair in whatever pose. So when you're actually shooting a character midair like this, it's a more complicated process than normal animation. For every frame you take where he is midair, you have to remove him and then take another. So that way when you erase the stand in Photoshop or After Effects or whatever you're using, you have a clean background. As for software, I'm using Dragon Frame. It is exorbitantly expensive though. If you're just starting out, I recommend you use a mobile app like Stopmotion Studio Pro, I think. I haven't used any of those before, so you're on your own. For special effects, I used to use Apple Motion. It's a very affordable program, absolutely recommend it to beginners. It's only $50 as opposed to something like After Effects. It has pretty much everything you will need for the first few years, that was my experience. But at this point I've been using After Effects as well as Photoshop, Premiere, Motion. Also, most of this film was shot in a Canon EOS Rebel T6. Wait, is it EOS or EOS? Eos. About midway through, I switched to this one, the Canon EOS Sl3. I strongly recommend this one over the Rebel T6. That one doesn't have any kind of external power supply, so you will have to take breaks to swap out the battery, and that really hurts your efficiency. Do not recommend. Get an Sl3 instead. AC power is absolutely critical for stop motion. For more complicated shots, like the one where he's flipping over all the buildings and running at Shin Godzilla, I use Photoshop for my rig removal. It's just a lot easier when you don't have to move all those control points around every single frame. Hello, it's me from like a week later. There's noise going on. I got like a dozen messages from people who are like, hey, have you heard of this AI that can boost your stop motion frame rate up to 60 frames per second? And I appreciate the suggestion and everything. But like Pexachu is shot at 12 frames per second, which is half the industry standard of 24. And if you look at the amount of movement between frames, look at how much changes between this frame and this frame, for instance. Can you imagine what that would look like if you tried to interpolate it? It would just be a blurry mess. So thank you, but no thank you. Goodbye, love you. As for the music, a lot of you were pointing out that it had Cowboy Bebop vibes, which I think is the weeboo's way of saying jazz. Have you guys heard of jazz? I get a lot of Cowboy Bebop vibes from jazz. I think Jazz might be a fan of Cowboy Bebop. I was originally using Tank, the Cowboy Bebop opening, as the soundtrack for the first, like, year and a half of production. It matched up surprisingly well. I was heartbroken I couldn't use it. It is very copyrighted. I would get sued into oblivion. So I had my extremely talented friend Harper Abigail compose a track that sort of emulated what Tank was doing for me. She got a couple of her friends together to perform some of the instruments as well. They're all named in the credits. Also, she's finally started to upload the music she's made for me. So far, she's only done the soundtrack from Pexachu vs. Godzilla and my older video, Gun Tricks. You should go follow her on Instagram, subscribe on YouTube, links in the description, you know the drill. Also, just one last thing. The video wasn't performing too well on YouTube until I shared it to Reddit. In the subreddit, next hecking level, where it performed unbelievably well. I got thousands of awards. I was on the front freaking page of Reddit for 9 hours. I have tasted fame. I can never go back. I don't really have the time or ability to say thank you to everyone individually who sent me an award or commented on the video, so please take this as my very, very personal thank you. Whoever sent me gold and platinum and argentium and friggin' turnium, I would like to give you a little kiss on the lips as thanks. Also, for everyone referencing that scene from Parks and Rec where he's like, you know, do you think a depressed person could make this? Yes, I am depressed. What I'm wondering is, do you think a neurotypical person could make this? Okay, I can't think of anything else I want to say about the film, so I guess I should do the usual YouTuber thing where I, like, plug my Patreon. My Patreon supporters have actually been able to see early versions of this video for like a year and a half now. The uncensored version is also up there if you're feeling a little adventurous. And if you are among those who keep very kindly reminding me about The Last Colony Part 3, once that goes into production, you will be able to see a lot of early clips. Also, if you really want to support me, look at that. That's my logo. That's me, that's my name. Haven't really tried selling merch before, so I guess links in the description. In addition to this shirt, I also have some designs that are a little bit more out there. No, I will not explain any of them. Now you too can show off how good your taste is by wearing a brand on your chest. Like, comment, subscribe, help me boost my algorithm ranking. YouTube kinda hates animators. It's a huge relief that my stupid video has done this well this quickly. I know I don't show it very well, but I am feeling many emotions right now. Also, I find it amusing that most of the negative feedback about this video was angry Godzilla fans upset at how unrealistic it is that Pexachu could defeat Godzilla. I apologize for the lack of realism in my video about a buff semi-naked Pikachu man fighting an army of radioactive dinosaurs. I will do my best to improve next time. I will do my research on Pexachu and his abilities. That's all I got.